On tonight's game, the Tampa Bay Lightning will try to go for their second straight win, something they haven't done in quite some time. We talk about that and more, but first, let's play that music.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked On Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Adam Tanker. I want to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. And right now, we're talking tonight's game against the Vegas Golden Knights. This will be the second and final matchup of the season between Tampa Bay and Vegas. And really a game that, like I said, if you listen to the last episode or watch the last episode, if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and listen to that. What I said on the last episode was that I am very excited for this game because, especially when the Lightning have struggled, and really make no mistake about it, picking up a big win, and yes, it is a big win against the lowly Philadelphia Flyers. You know, a win is a win, especially when you're losing 5 games in a row and 8 of your last 10. It is a big win. So, but I am very excited about this game because the Vegas Golden Knights are number 1 in their division out in the Pacific, battling, just basically in a tight race with Los Angeles and Seattle, ahead in points percentage, though, ahead of Los Angeles. So one of the top teams in the West coming to Amalie. The Lightning losing in their last matchup in February against Vegas. That was a 5-4 loss in Vegas. So the Lightning getting to trying to go for some revenge here tonight. And really, there's so many things going into this game in terms of stories. We got Nikita Kucherov coming into this game with a coming straight off of a previous game, his 25th multi-point game of the season, as well as picking up his 22 straight game with points at home. Can he extend it to 23 tonight? I think he will, just because of just how, like I said in the last episode, really what it comes down to is the Lightning are more successful when Kucherov, when the offense revolves and flows freely through him. And that was something that I really enjoyed in the last game. And not only because of, Kucherov is so dynamic in the way he is able to spread the puck around and draw defenders towards him. Case in point, the Killorn goal, in which, you saw a Flyers player, skate towards him and almost the defense or the entire Flyers team, to a fault was just drawn. It wasn't like everyone rushed over at that moment, but it was more so all the attention was on Kucherov, especially after scoring that one-timer early in the game. Well, actually, he scored the one-timer in the second period. But, what I'm trying to say is that really what it comes down to is that not only does his presence create opportunities for himself, but it creates opportunities for everybody on the ice. So really, that is what I'm expecting tonight. And the best thing about that as well is that when Kucherov has the puck, I always, you've heard me in the past complain here and there about how the Lightning are just too bum and rush it, where they get the puck in their own zone and then it's just a mad dash 200 feet down the other way. And really, sometimes that helps, sometimes that doesn't. What you saw in this game, and I always say is that, I always like to see the Lightning kind of have more of a structured attack. And you saw it in this game, like I said, once going back to the Killorn goal once again, almost like a tic-tac-toe kind of play there from Kuch to Killorn. And really, it almost feels like with his offensive ability, it doesn't look as structured as it might seem to be. And I think, really that does affect the opposing teams to a certain extent. So really, really excited to see how Tampa Bay will go about going up against this Golden Knights team, who, like I said, one of the more formidable teams out in the West, and especially in the Pacific Division, a division in which that is very, very competitive. Yeah, so I'm expecting a big game once again from Kucherov. Had 3 points in the previous game against Philly. I would expect about the same in this one. I would also expect a tight one because of the goalie situation. We're probably going to see Vasilevsky in net tonight. And then on the other side, when you go into this situation against any team, you want to get their best in net. And the numbers don't lie. Logan Thompson has been the guy for Vegas all year. He's had his ups and his downs, but 20-13-3 on the season, a goals against average of 2.66, save percentage of 914, and 2 shutouts. So, like I said before, you're excited because you want to keep things going when you're going up against a team like Vegas. But also on that same breath, you also like to go against a team like Vegas this late in the season because it's kind of like a heat check moment. You want to see where you are, especially coming off a 5-game losing streak, such as one as the Lightning had. So you want to get the best of everything they have, and you don't want to wish for players like an Eichel or a McNabb to not play in this game and not play well. You want to have good performances, not to the point to where, it causes you to lose the game, but you want to get the best out of the opposing team because not only is this a playoff caliber team, but this is a team, if the Lightning can make a run, which is a whole nother episode where we could discuss that. This is a team that the Lightning could potentially run across in the Stanley Cup final. But yeah, this is, you want to get the best of everything. You want to have Vasilevsky in net tonight. You want to get Logan Thompson in net tonight. But then, and maybe this is just me being nostalgic, seeing those Kings teams in the mid 2000s, kind of want to see Jonathan Quick play tonight. It's always kind of fun, especially when it's against your team, to see a player of the caliber that is John Quick. Yeah, his stats aren't exactly spectacular this season, but as we all know, Jonathan Quick isn't it. He's very prone to go out there and play like vintage Jonathan Quick. 12, 13, and 4 in the season, goals against average of almost 3.5 actually. Save percentage below 90%. But that one shutout, that does stick out. So, there is still that ability in the veteran Jonathan Quick, the Stanley Cup winning goaltender Jonathan Quick, to be able to go out there and make the Lightning look foolish. So, as much as I want to see Logan Thompson, like it would be really fun to kind of see Jonathan Quick out there in a new environment, in a new uniform. So, really, I don't know. I'm torn. Let me know in the comments below. Obviously by the time this episode drops, we'll have our answers to who will be in net for Vegas, but I kind of wouldn't mind to see either or Thompson or Quick. So let me know in the comments below what have you have preferred, and don't cheat, because if Thompson goes out there and pitches a shutout, I don't want to hear a bunch of people say, well, Jonathan Quick. No. Would you have rather had Thompson, or would you have rather had Jonathan Quick in net? Vasilevsky's going for his 30th win of the season tonight. You know what? It's been an interesting road for Vasilevsky this season. So, excited to see if he could go out there. You know what? I think I say it. I'm starting to say it almost every episode when we're having a little bit of a game preview. But this is the kind of game where you want to get Vazzy. It's one thing to get a shutout against a very lesser team, a team that is a potential draft lottery team. But I think it hits home a little bit differently, especially for a guy like Vasilevsky. Like I said, has had somewhat of a strange season. Started off slow, a lot of people worried about him. He's had his moments where he seems like he's off, but he's really got it together. Like I said, on the verge of his 30th win of the season. Goals against average at 2.67, save percentage of 916, and 2 shutouts. Would be pretty cool, and a little bit of a preview. Like I said, it's not only a playoff preview. It's exciting because potential playoff matchup in the final, but it's also heat check for the Lightning, but also a heat check potentially for Vasilevsky to see, where he's at this point in the season. Like I said, he's starting to pick it up as of late. So, if he gets a shutout tonight, I think, the Lightning, all of Lightning Nation, as well as the Lightning as a team, will be very excited about that. Not only because, you always like to see your goaltender succeeding and get a shutout, but especially since it's against a team as good as the Vegas Golden Knights. So let me know in the comments below what you think about that. And we'll talk more about this team, more about the lineup. Victor Hedman, probably not going to see him tonight. All indications seem like as though he is there. If he's not feeling good after hurting his back a couple of games ago, probably not going to have him rush back. I mean, why not? We're in the closing stages of the NHL season. So other guys on the D line are going to have to pick up slack. We also talk about, maybe a little bit what if we have enough time about, the defensive core, but we'll talk about all of that in just a little bit. But first, I want to talk about one of today's sponsors and one of our newer sponsors, and that is our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. Now, if you haven't already done so, if you're listening to this during the game, whether it be intermission or whatever, go ahead right now and make a bet on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Not only make a bet, but make it with America's #1 sportsbook, and that is FanDuel. Now, if you're a new customer with FanDuel Sportsbook, guess what? They're having this great deal right now because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. And you could download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. I use it all the time, not just for hockey, but all types of sports. My Knicks have been rolling as of late. I'm just hammering the Knicks money line all over the place, and I'm going to hammer the Lightning money line tonight. So go ahead and do that. Super easy. In-game apps as well. They have tons of props and odds to choose from for your favorite teams and players. So go ahead and do that. And the best thing about it is that they let you combine your bets for a bigger chance at a bigger payout with same game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel. All right. So if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and like and subscribe to the podcast. Give us a follow wherever podcasts are distributed. So we're looking at lineups I'm recording this about just a little over a half hour before game time, probably in the 40-minute mark, and haven't seen the lineups drop just yet, but it looks like from everything I've heard thus far, we're probably not going to see Victor Hedman tonight after he took a nasty spill a couple of games ago, going into the board, tweaking his back. And, everything that I've heard and seen, it seems as though they're not going to rush him back, which is wise. I mean, there's been so much talk about Victor Hedman this year about just, there's just been something off about him. And I'm happy that the Lightning, oftentimes in the NHL, I mean, it's not even just oftentimes, it's just the normal thing. Players play through all types of things: sprains, bruises, broken bones, torn ligaments, torn muscles, you name it, they play through it. Unless it's obviously a concussion, that's pretty much the only thing. But the thing is, players, these guys are the toughest athletes, I think, out of all the four major sports in North America. And really, I'm really happy that the Lightning are taking the very cautious route here with Victor Hedman. Like I said, ever since the start of the season, he's just looked off, and it could be a combination of things. We know he had some sort of upper body injury in the beginning of the season, and he's just looked off physically, and you could even see it in certain moments. It's affecting him mentally in a way. Sometimes he's not as quick in certain situations, and you might say, well, yeah, that's physical, but at the same time, for anybody that's played any type of sports, when you're playing a sport and you're hurt, it affects you to a certain emotional and mental point. to where, you don't have that same level of confidence that you maybe would have if you were 100% and confident in your body's ability to go from 0 to 100 on a dime. And so we've seen sort of, here and there, those lapses in his judgment on the defensive side and have led to odd man rushes and goals on the other side of the ice. So, and has placed somewhat of a burden, not trying to kill Victor Hedman here, but that's just basically what it is. And it has led to somewhat of a burden, especially in a year coming off where the Lightning have lost two main pillars of their defensive core, Jan Ruda as well as Ryan McDonough, especially where this defensive core is kind of trying to regroup. So, I'm like I said, I'm happy that they're not rushing him back, with so little games left in the season. And really, the playoffs will be here in the blink of an eye. 18 games left in the season. Why would you take a chance in further injuring your star defenseman? So, this may work out in favor. And when I say in favor, I mean huge. It may pay out huge dividends for the Lightning going into the playoffs, because if we could get Victor Hedman back to doing Victor Hedman things, and that's moving around with more aggressiveness, more confidence in his stride, having more of an effect on the offensive game. And I think, really thinking about it, sidestepping really quick, I think that's what Julian Brice-Boss was thinking about. Obviously they didn't plan out him getting hurt the way he did the other night. And like I said, I don't think this is a long-lasting thing. I think this is just precautionary. The back isn't anything to play around with. But I think to a certain extent, if we're going to give JBB the no reason of a doubt, I think what it came down to, I think they really were hoping that, or maybe the conversation was had at some point, maybe we'll start resting some of these guys, especially Hedman. And I think that's why, they eventually did not, probably also paired up with the fact that maybe the right deal didn't arise for them. Maybe they really thought that, we don't need to get another defenseman or a depth defenseman, because if Cooper, and I'm sure the conversation obviously was had with John Cooper, if we could have Hedman 100% back to himself by the start of the playoffs and starting to play. And I'm not saying that he's going to sit, 9 games. I'd kind of be shocked if, out of the last 18, he only plays 9. That'd be a little, I think, excessive. I really think that if he gets back to 100%, I think this really flips everything in the right direction for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And, they go into the playoffs against somewhat of a banged up Toronto Maple Leafs team, looking like a whole different animal of a team. So this is a risk, but I think in the end, if it works out, it'll be an absolutely incredible bet that the Lightning have placed on themselves and on Victor Hedman. So looking at tonight's lineups, I'm happy, and I've always kind of said this with the lineup, especially the defensive core, you're going to have your injuries with defensemen. And the good thing, there's obviously good and bad things about that come with pros and cons. The pro, well, actually, let's start with the con. The con is that, obviously you're losing a piece of your defensive core. And that's a big deal no matter what line you're missing it from. So the lines go as slated: Sergachev and Pervix, Cole and Chernak, Fleury and Bogosian. I've said it as the season has gone on, especially when Bogosian came back. I wasn't crazy, and we know that Cooper likes to change things up all the time. I wasn't ecstatic about Bogosian playing this high up, so I'm glad he is gone back down to the third spot. I just think that the Lightning, in terms of the pairings, we need to go offense, defense. I really like Cole and Chernak together. I really think that Chernak sliding into the role that Ryan McDonough had, pretty much, I think we could agree, probably the stopper in the flood at times for the Tampa Bay Lightning defensively. and you pair him up with a veteran such as Ian Cole, I think that makes a great combo. I really like that a lot. And then you have Fleury, who has not really played a whole lot this season. Number of years in the NHL, kind of just coming into this team as a depth defenseman. You, at times has looked lost. You put him down on the third line with Zach Bogosian, a veteran in this league, which for what seems like forever. I think if you want to talk about NHL experience here, there's a ton of experience with Zach Bogosian, and you definitely want to have him there. So much experience, I believe, if I'm not wrong, he was the last draft pick or the last first round draft pick for the Atlanta Thrashers. So that shows you how long he's been in the league. So I really like Sergachev and Pervix. I think that really this is, Pervix obviously having a surprising year offensively and just showing in general, showing everybody really his ability to succeed in multiple facets of what it takes to be a good all-around defenseman. Where you have Mikhail Sergachev, who has been just playing fantastic this year, has really that maturity that we've really started to, or really have hoped for in recent years. You've seen it full blast this year. Really has earned himself not only that first line, and I think hopefully in the future, Cooper, as like I said, prone to moving things around, which is fine. I hope the one thing that he doesn't, he takes a staunch stand against, and that is moving Sergachev below the first line pairing. I hope he stays on that first line pairing. And on top of that, he's running the power play now, which I absolutely love. Like I said, I think he's ready for it. He's matured. And especially with all the what ifs or whatever you want, question marks that are surrounding Victor Hedman this year, especially his health. You definitely, the Lightning are lucky, I will say, to have had Mikhail Sergachev take leaps and bounds in this game. So, yeah, I would expect, the defense is going to play a big part in this game. I would really like to see, the big guns pick up some points in this game. Sergachev, Kuch, Point and Stamkos, the usual guys, Hagel as well. Would really like to see a goal out of Sorelli, really get him to really get going even more. He's had success here and there and has really gotten things together, especially in the month of February. So, especially coming back this late, glad to see him really getting going on the offensive side of things. Another guy, like I've said in years past, that has really, as he matures, the talent will show more and more. So we'll wrap things up with this lineup. Some of my other picks to pick up points or goals in this game from the Lightning in just a bit. But first, we're going to wrap things up with our last sponsor of the day, and that is talking about our friends at Built Bar. Now, I've said it many times. I'm not sure how Built does it. Their bars have only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar, with a whopping 17 grams of protein, while keeping the same phenomenal taste, and that is a taste of a candy bar. And if you want to order from the website, go to built.com. And guess what? If you don't want to wait around for a box, you could now go. They are now available at your local Walmart or your local Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You could pick up a 4-box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. If you're close to Sam's Club, you run in and grab a 13-box with their hit flavors like brownie batter and churro. You could thank me later. So go to built.com right now to get your sample box of the Built Bars, as well as your local Sam's Club and Walmart. So wrapping things up, I fully expect to see somewhat of a replica, a carbon copy performance from what we saw the last night in Philly. Now, granted, Philadelphia and Vegas, two different animals. You got Philadelphia lottery team, borderline lottery team, and then you got Vegas, at least top 3 team in the West, at least, gets a little bit lopsided if you're going to compare them to the East. tons of big dogs in the East, so we can't really get into that conversation. But really good heat check game for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Really happy to see where they stack up, especially with the way the schedule is facing up in the month of March. Like I said on the last episode, the Lightning, as much as they've struggled and picking up their first win in 5 games against the Philadelphia Flyers the other night. After this, after tonight, especially against Vegas, it doesn't get any easier for them. So you want to beat the teams that you can, like the Blackhawks and the Canadiens and the Senators. But you definitely want to try and more than split the matchups against your Vegas Golden Knights, like your Winnipeg Jets, like your New Jersey Devils, your Boston Bruins, and your Carolina Hurricanes. So like I said, this part of the year, you're able to weigh yourself against some of the better teams in the league. And it is also a good confidence boost for a team like the Lightning, who have struggled quite a bit as of late. So let me know in the comments below, what are your predictions for this game? I really think the Lightning will come out on top. Hard-fought game, 3-2, maybe 4-2 on an open net goal at the end of the game. I expect big performances, like I said, from our top dogs, the Stamkoses, the Kucherovs, the Points, the Sergachevs, and Vasilevsky as well. But I would really like to see points from Tanner Jeannot, from Nick Paul, from Ross Colton, from Alex Killorn, Brandon Hagel as well. Just another all-around effort. It's a great night anytime a lot of your players on your team pick up points instead of maybe like one or two guys having 3-4 points at a time. So let me know below what you think. I really want Tanner Jeannot to get a Gordie Howe hat trick tonight. That'd be pretty cool. Tanner Jeannot, I think, endeared himself to everybody in Lightning Nation, if he hasn't already done so the other night with defending Hagel against a handful of Flyers players. So I'm going to say it. Tanner Jeannot gets a goal tonight, and on top of that, gets a Gordie Howe hat trick. Put that in. Unfortunately, that's the only bet FanDuel doesn't have. But yeah, put that down. Write me down for that. And we'll be back later tonight to recap it. So keep an eye out for that. Hit that notification button, whether you're listening to us on an audio app or you're watching us on YouTube. So in the meantime, that's been it for this episode of Locked On Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Adam Tanker. I'll talk to you next.